the question is, okay, well, if these masks don't work, why do surgeons wear them? That's a great question. What are some of the things you can do to avoid getting the coronavirus? So, first of all, surgical masks, the one I wear in the operating room, are totally ineffective at filtering virus particles. Completely. They do nothing. Plus, what most people don't realize is that even the best surgical masks have gaps around the mouth, around the face, around the eyes, and it's not a perfect seal. And viruses can go through the mask, around the mask, and that's not going to do anything. There are medical grade masks that do filter virus particles, but here's the deal. They have to be perfectly fit, and secondly, they are so difficult to breathe through that people who are very susceptible to getting very ill from this virus with, for instance, chronic lung disease, many patients with COPD or emphysema can't even use these masks because it's so difficult to breathe through them. Furthermore, there is a suggestion that you can actually contact this virus through any mucous membrane. And guess what? Your eyes are a mucous membrane, and the mask doesn't cover your eyes. That's why you'll notice that all the healthcare workers who are tending for people with coronavirus also have goggles that seal the areas around their eyes. The question is, okay, well, if these masks don't work, why do surgeons wear them? That's a great question.
Spice rack. Most spices in the smallest space. Quality made in the USA, organizes 30 regular, or up to 60 half-sized spice jars in a small space. To know more about the product or buy it, link in the description.
And it turns out a study was done in England, actually when I was in England, to show that surgical masks actually have no benefit in preventing infections in surgical wounds. And the study was designed having surgeons wear masks for 3 months and not wear masks, and looking at surgical wound infections. And interestingly enough, the masks actually promoted more surgical wound infections than not wearing masks, because what happens when we wear a mask is we talk during surgery, and the masks actually abrade our cheeks and chin, and it sloughs off bacteria that are on our skin into the wound. So why do we keep wearing them? Because quite frankly, tradition is tradition, and things are hard to change. So many of the things that we think actually ought to make a difference in clinical trials don't make a difference or actually make things worse. What are some of the things you can do to avoid getting the coronavirus? So here's the deal. Your immune system is really good at handling any virus as long as you have a functioning, intact microbiome. And there are so many very good studies that show a diverse, healthy microbiome is the first line of defense for any viral or bacterial attack. Your microbiome is the first line of defense. Now, if you have a leaky gut, and I talked about this extensively, your immune system is so diverted to the attack at your leaky gut that you literally don't have enough of a robust immune system at the borders, at your mouth, at your nose, in your lungs, to fight out a normal pathogen that the immune system could attack. Now, here's the other really scary thing. The best thing you can do to make sure your immune system doesn't work properly is to eat sugar or things that turn into sugar, because sugar suppresses the immune system better than almost any other thing that you can do. So the last thing you want to do is have a candy bar or even a bowl of cereal or a piece of bread, which quite frankly is pure sugar. So the more you stay away from sweets, cookies, crackers, cereals, candy during this season, the better off your immune system is going to be. What would you say to someone traveling right now? Are there things you can do on the airplane? Interesting study shows that people on the window seats are actually the least susceptible to contracting some airborne illness while on an airplane, which makes a lot of sense because the farther you are from traffic going back and forth down the aisle, and the air circulation is actually the poorest on the window seats, so you will get less of the ventilation effect. Now, don't make a mad dash for the window seats, please. But I frequently try to travel whenever I can control my seating assignment with a window seat for that reason, and that reason only. Is there anything you can do on airplanes and in airports to avoid contracting the virus? First of all, hand washing is still the #1 recommendation for the CDC. That and that alone will fix most of the problems. Okay, so I do not wipe down trays. I actually don't let the tray down. I use, if I want to watch a movie or something, I use my own iPad. I don't use the touch screen on, if there's one on the seat. Carry your own stuff. That's the easiest way. Plus, why in the world would you put the tray down? Because you're certainly not going to eat the airline food. You're going to bring your own food that you brought from home that you made. So I see absolutely no reason to put a tray down. Even if you have kids, you better be feeding them the food you made rather than exposing them to the crap on airlines. Do you need to carry hand sanitizers? I have absolutely never used these things. I like my skin microbiome. Your skin microbiome is the #1 defense system against other bacteria and other viruses. So no, I don't recommend using hand sanitizers. Simple soap and water is all you need, and that's all you need to do. How can you support your immune system so you're less susceptible to the virus? That's a great question. So #1, you've got to make sure you have adequate levels of vitamin D3. And the average person should take a bare minimum of 5,000 international units of vitamin D a day. A paper written from the University of California, San Diego a few years ago, after extensive research into humans, thinks that the average American should take 9,600 international units of vitamin D3 a day to have adequate levels of vitamin D. I personally have not seen vitamin D toxicity after 20 years of measuring this in thousands, tens of thousands of patients. Again, I recently talked with Mark Hyman. In his practice, he has yet to see vitamin D toxicity. I personally don't think it exists, but even if it does, 10,000 international units a day is what the University of California, San Diego recommends. You probably have heard me talk before. If I feel I am coming down with a virus, I personally...
Spice Rack. Most spices in the smallest space, quality made in the USA, organizes 30 regular, or up to 60 half-sized spice jars in a small space. To know more about the product or buy it, link in the description.
I personally take 150,000 international units of vitamin D3 a day for 3 days in a row. That's almost 500,000 international units of vitamin D over a 3-day period. I've been doing that now for about 18 years. I'm not dead yet, and so far so good. Now the second thing you can do, and this actually harkens back to Linus Pauling's research. Linus Pauling is the famous vitamin C doctor. He won 2 Nobel Prizes in physics, but he believed, and there's very excellent evidence that IV vitamin C is one of the most effective combatants against viral illnesses. And quite frankly, in some of my patients with severe pneumonia from the SARS virus, I actually gave them intravenous vitamin C continuously in the ICU. And one woman, quite frankly, who I remember very well, a very young lady, actually survived, and when she was on a ventilator, and we literally couldn't oxygenate her blood with traditional means, and I was able to get a waiver from our pharmacy to give her vitamin C IV, and that's actually what turned her around. Now, you're not going to get IV vitamin C before you go on a trip or take it on the airplane. So what I recommend is one of 2 things. Either take timed release vitamin C capsules, and they're readily available. I like 1,000 milligrams twice a day. But if you don't have that, go to any drugstore, any health food store, get the chewable vitamin C tablets. They come in 500 milligrams. And chew 500 milligrams of vitamin C at least 4 times a day. Here's the problem with vitamin C. It's water soluble, and we excrete the dose literally after 2 to 3 hours. So then it's gone. So you always have to replenish your vitamin C. And again, the easiest way to do this is just carry a bunch of vitamin C tablets with you and chew them every 4 hours, and you'll be just fine. Third, mushrooms are some of the best ways to activate your immune system, to activate killer cells, which are white blood cells that will go after viruses. Consider getting yourself some mushroom capsules, and that's another great way of adding another layer of defense. Lastly, sunlight is one of the best ways to generate vitamin D in your bloodstream, the active form. So whatever you do, get yourself a half an hour exposure to sunlight wherever you are. And that's one of the best tricks. What should you do if you think you might have been exposed? Well, what the CDC is asking, if you even think you've been exposed, to self-quarantine. That means you stay at home. And you don't go out shopping, you don't go to school, you don't go to friends and family's houses, and you just stay at home. The incubation of this virus seems to be anywhere from the latency of 2 days to a week to 10 days. And the CDC has recommended that most people, if they fear they've been exposed, just self-quarantine for that period of time. Okay, so that's it. This is not a virus that we have to panic about, because we have seen iterations of this virus before. And I can guarantee you we're going to see the next one in a few years. There is no vaccine for this virus. The vaccine will not be here, so you can't sit around in fear, oh my gosh, I have to have the vaccine. You have the ability to make your immune system vigorous, that can fight off just about anything Mother Nature can throw at you. And nobody used to get these viruses before our immune system was profoundly compromised. But for now, just get your vitamin D levels up, take your vitamin C, get your gut microbiome happy by following the Plant Paradox program, and be calm and carry on.
Spice Rack. Most spices in the smallest space, quality made in the USA, organizes 30 regular, or up to 60 half-sized spice jars in a small space. To know more about the product or buy it, link in the description.